My parents would tell me like different speeches. As a black male, your parents tell you like a speech when you get old enough. They're like, okay, the police pull you over, keep your hands on the wheel, don't move, don't reach your wallet, don't do anything, don't go in these parts of town, all that stuff like that. And I didn't believe my parents because I lived on a military base, but they were saying there was one day going to be whenever you're not going to be on the base anymore and you have to do different things.
Ma'am, you're just being detained right now until we get this all sorted out, okay?
They threw my phone, Facebook. Please don't tell me, Lord Jesus, please don't tell me.
What's in your purse here?
Okay,
Any weapons or anything?
No, please don't tell me my boyfriend is gone. Here, take it off my hand. Please don't tell me he's gone. Please, Jesus, no! Please, no!
Stand up, walk over to me.
No, don't let him be gone, Lord! Can you get my phone?
Recent nationwide events led to a citizen of Whitesburg, Kentucky, to post a Black Lives Matter sign in their window. This is how the community reacted.
When it first went up, I know the person who put it up, and I'm very proud of that person for doing that. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I said, why in hell did you do that? Because it seems like there's going to be a reaction, and there was a reaction.
Well, the media's reaction to it was very, I'd say, sensationalistic. It wasn't in any way, it was very interesting. It's like they sort of needed to be able to create two sides of an issue to sort of make it controversial. And the only reason I say that is because it's almost like they sort of pitted this private individual's public act against the things that were going on in the nation, like, you know, the Dallas massacre had just happened and this sort of Blue Lives Matter movement.
You didn't hear about Blue Lives Matter or All Lives Matter until there was a Black Lives Matter, and it's because it's people protesting against it or they don't like it. So I think it's just a big misinformation campaign. But there are, in every movement, I mean, there are people that are really out to like hurt people. I mean, like you saw like the shootings that happened in Dallas, and then was the other one in Baton Rouge, I believe. I think there are people like within different movements that they're out to hurt people, but these are like what I believe they're like lone wolves. And like if you look at like, I watched a video from the guy Baton Rouge, and I read about the guy in Dallas. They're like lone wolves. We're not part of this, but we feel this way. We don't want to be associated. Da da da. And so people have just like they've latched on to that, and they're like, okay, this is everybody.
So many people were angered, but we wanted to know, what even is Black Lives Matter?
From what I know, it was created after Trayvon Martin and Sandra Bland and these different shootings, and people were like fed up of it, and so they felt they had to mobilize.
When that movement was born, I was one of those first people sitting there in my head like, all lives matter. It's not just Black lives. But then I did like people should do. I got more information. I studied it, watched TV, read articles, until I understood, oh, they're not saying all lives don't matter. They're just very specifically saying Black Lives Matter. And this is the reason they're using that phrasing, because of the incarceration rates and the murder rates. And it's a very quick, very short tagline to put it in people's faces.
There is a system that we all live in, and that does not treat with equality or fairness, to a certain demographic in this country, to certain communities in this country. And so the message of Black Lives Matter is just simply that the voices of Black communities in this country are actually heard, and we don't have to rely on media to like these crazy cell phone videos to actually tell us what's going on in these communities.
They're not solely talking about police when they're talking about Black Lives Matter. They're talking about mass incarceration. They're talking about queer and trans Black folks. They're talking about Black folks with disabilities. There's a whole bunch included in what they're talking about that is bigger than just relegated to one specific instance. It's our opportunity to listen and take in and change our actions when people are saying, look what is happening to my community, to my people, to my son.
This is not just a sensationalized media thing. This is a fact of life for communities of color every single day. Many of them wake up not knowing what's going to happen to them.
I met this one policeman in Louisville, their friend, and he lives in like the St. Matthews neighborhood of Louisville, which is like a nicer neighborhood. And then he like polices in the West End, which is like the mostly African American. And he said something like, he's like, yeah, I go in there and I knock heads around, do whatever I want, come back home to my nice apartment. And he doesn't have a stake in that community. And so I think if you had a stake in that community, you'd be, and you knew the people, you'd be a much better policeman. I feel like there's been decline in that community aspect of policing. There's been more militarization and less community stuff. Like I think that's how you build the trust, is more community outreach. And that's what I was saying, they need to go more in depth and sit down and talk to people, have these conversations and stuff. And not just when you see on the news, you see people's angry faces and whatnot. Like how are you doing this? Talking? This is what they need to do is talk.
We should be able to put public faces to the people in our police departments. We should be able to talk to them and know them like people. The further you get divide between the police and the people, the more you're going to get brutality and profiling and all these things that we see in bigger cities.
Both sides need to work on communication. The cops need to be better in the way that they police, and the community needs to be better in the way that they conduct themselves. We just want equal footing, simply. That's it. I think if both sides of the coin reach out to each other to better understand each other, then things would get better. We're not saying like we want to take over or anything like that. We don't want anything bloody. We don't want violence. We just want to live and be able to be free.
A serious conversation needs to be held in this country about race and the police, so that the events such as those on July 6th in Minnesota do not repeat, and so that there can be justice for all Americans.